Elton John's last name is not John.
Oh my gosh.
What did he do?
He probably legally changed his last name and then showed them the paperwork.
Okay. I just learned his last name is not John from the trailer to the new movie that's coming out in May.
What movie?
It's about Elton John. It's called Rocket Man.
Oh, I think I've seen previews for that.
I think it's about like the rise, the fall, and then the subsequent rise. You know, your classic hero's journey. Man, I'm in a mood.
I was just about to say.
Yeah, how much coffee did you have this morning?
1 cup. And I had a cup of decaffeinated tea this morning. I know.
Are you sure it was decaffeinated?
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure you didn't spike it or something?
Yeah.
I'm going to need another cup of coffee to keep up with you, too.
Just him today. I'm still warming up.
So is that what you want to talk about, Elton John?
No, I was just listening to him as I came in. And so I had all those thoughts, and I hadn't gotten to share any of them with anybody yet. And so you were the first people that I saw. Therefore, you were the people who got shared with.
Blessed.
Sorry about it in advance.
I love your book.
Thank you.
I also think it's fascinating because, you know, now with the way people talk about millennials and Generation Z, like you're actually writing on paper.
Mm-hmm.
You're not doing everything in technology.
I actually try to get away from technology as much as I can,
Yeah.
which is interesting because I'm a tech company. I'm running a tech company.
Yes, it is.
That's interesting. Yeah, I have to write stuff down. I have everything in my calendar on my phone, but I also write down everything in a calendar, which I know is a total waste of time. I just really like a paper calendar. But I like how convenient a calendar on your phone is. So
It really is.
yeah, so I live that line.
I was never good with writing on paper. Like even when I write, right? I write on my computer.
Okay.
It's like there's something about my relationship with the fingers on the keys where I can move as quickly as I think.
Oh, right.
Whereas writing takes so long.
Are you a slow writer?
I think I must be. Yeah, I think I must be. If you want to be able to read it. Otherwise, it's like chicken scratch.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm a visual person, and when I write real fast, it looks like chicken scratch, and it's kind of ugly,
So it throws you.
which makes me like not like it.
Yeah.
So every time I've ever written in a journal, I've looked back at it and went, it's not visually pleasing.
Oh, that's a real thing. Yeah.
It really is.
It really is.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. I had to work on some of the letters that I write. That way they could look better, like, on the paper, and then it would be visually pleasing to go back to go look at. Otherwise, I would never do it. And so then what's the point?
Yeah, it has to be visually pleasing. And in order for it to be visually pleasing, it takes too long, and then I forget what I was.
This is so interesting. Wow.
It's just kind of how my brain works, I think.
Right.
And the habits I've gotten into.
Right.
But you're a fast typer.
Very fast.
Okay.
Yeah. So plus, I love the fact that it's got autocorrect, you know? So
Oh, yeah.
if I write
That's
it
nice.
and I spell it wrong, you know,
There.
it's there. And if I do it on a computer, it autocorrects. So I don't have to go back through and like edit my own work.
That is true.
Are you a fast typer on your cell phone?
No.
Interesting.
Slow as molasses.
See, I'm fast on my phone, but I'm on my laptop. I feel like I make way more mistakes.
Really?
I'm faster on a digital keyboard than on a physical one. Like your
Okay.
phone keyboard or an
I had
iPad
to think
keyboard.
about that for a second. Yes, because I did a post yesterday, I think it was yesterday, in Instagram, and I did the classic mistake, you are, Y-O-U-R, you know, that one. And your mom sent me a text saying, hey, you've got the your spelled wrong. I said, I know it's wrong. But it's in Instagram and it won't let me change it because the time had passed or whatever to make the edit. So now it's there for everybody to see, and then it posts to Facebook, and I'm like, God, I look like one of those people Who doesn't know the difference between your and your? So the point I was making is I did that on my phone. When I was doing the Instagram post, I did it on my phone. And you've got only that little teeny little thing that you can see it on. If I had done it on my computer, it would have corrected it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, you know what I do with all of my captions? I write them in my notes, and then I copy it and I paste it.
Mm-hmm.
Good idea.
You get longer than like the little box that
Yeah.
Instagram gives
That's
you.
why y'all keep me around for these little tips.
That's a great idea. The other thing I wanted to ask you about
Here we go.
Instagram is like the other day you did an Instagram series post, which was the funniest that I've seen in a while, where your hair was like, "Blah."
So it was just like a Monday.
But you put a little GIF on there
Yeah.
that had a girl doing something like, making a face, like kind
Right.
of making fun of yourself.
Yeah.
Where do you get those GIFs?
Ready? Your
Yep.
life is about to be changed.
Yes.
So if you go to a story, I'm just going to like pretend to take one. And then up at the top where there is that little smiley thing,
Yeah.
it's like a box. You click on that and then it says GIF. And then you can search for them. So I usually type in like what, like WUT, because that's normally what's happening over here. And then a lot of that kind of stuff pops up.
So wait, which one is the GIF? Is it the round smiley face or the square?
The square smiley face. And then there will
Okay.
be a box. Then if you click GIF.
Where's GIF then? Once you get there.
So see, it's right under location. It's like the thing, it keeps coming in and out. Yeah.
Oh, my life is gonna change. Oh, I'm so excited.
And then if you really, if you're feeling like you're in a weird mood, WUT, if you search that, there's some solid stuff under there.
I was just laughing. Oh, I was laughing so hard
Those are my
because your hair
favorite.
was just out there, and then you were kind of making fun of your own hair.
All the time. I'm always making fun of myself. That's the only way I feel like you should ever live life.
I agree. Totally agree. Okay, so at the end of this podcast, I'll take a picture of the three of us for my
Okay.
Instagram, and I'll use like fun gift just to show everybody, and then I'll post that on
Oh,
Instagram.
you can do it. I love it.
Now I know. Yeah, I was trying to figure out how I could do the swipe up.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm reading all the Google, how do I swipe up on Instagram? And it said you have to have 10,000 followers.
Yeah.
So here's my plea to the world at large. I need 10,000 followers so I can swipe up on my Instagram. This is a serious thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took me 2 years to get there. Oh, it's serious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Swipe up is important. I
It is
remember
important.
you and I just started working together, and you fell below 10,000 followers for a hot sec.
I did. That was a really low point in my life.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. She got
all you
all the way
psychos who
there.
unfollow me, you know who you are.
You know who you are. If you play that follow game, we know.
Ugh. How many
Uh,
rants have I gone on about that? It's the worst.
Yeah, I remember that, and you couldn't do swipe up for like 3 weeks, and then you got married and you got like 10,000 new followers. But
Dude,
like,
I got married. I went on a honeymoon, and all of a sudden people were like, ooh, we want to see what's going on. I think I was able to swipe up again literally the day of our wedding. And I was like, what can I be doing on? Oh, wait, no, I'm getting married. I shouldn't be on my
that's
phone.
what you should be doing.
Wait, so I have to get married again in order to get 10,000 followers?
Or get
Or
a
have a
puppy.
baby.
Or get a puppy.
I think that boat has sailed. The baby boat.
Probably for the better.
Yes, definitely for the
You
better.
can get a puppy. Hazel's brought a lot of value to the brand.
I would love to have a butterfly house puppy.
Yes.
Jen, are you listening?
So, we're looking at getting a second puppy. This is like brand news. New news.
Oh, this is the announcement, the big announcement.
This is the reveal. And because, like dogs do better in a pair. And if I leave Hazel for longer than 30 minutes, I have like this dog mom guilt that takes over my body. It's awful. So we're looking at getting another puppy. And there's a place here in Ohio that has really cute mini Bernedoodles, which is Hazel, but also really cute mini golden doodles. So I'll let you know. I'm going to go visit them on the 3rd. I'll let you know if you should come get one too. They could be siblings.
Oh, so Hazel will be the older sibling.
Yeah, I don't know how she's going to react. Honestly, I could see it going both ways. She loves other dogs now, But she also really loves my attention. And she was really she's going through a phase where she's like super obsessed with Aaron too.
Mm-hmm.
So it could really mess up the family dynamic.
She's going to have to share.
I know.
I've actually been contemplating a butterfly house dog.
For a while.
For a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's mostly that my team so far has said, because they know that they're going to have to take the doggy home at night. Because I'm gone so much.
Oh, so you're going to get a butterfly house dog, and then you're going to get to enjoy it just as much as you want to, and then send it home with one of your employees.
Yeah.
I honestly feel like that's fair. And I'll tell you why I feel like this is fair. Are you going to you're going to find the dog, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if she's taking up a lot of the work and then somebody basically gets to have a puppy, it's a good deal.
I pay for it.
Yeah. See? It's kind of the perfect world.
That's very interesting.
And then we kind of dog share.
Oh, yeah.
Dog share.
Yeah. So the doggy would go.
Dog share.
Yeah. It could go home with a different team member every night, or maybe once a week. One team member has it 1 week, and then the next. I don't know. Is that too hard on the dog?
No.
I don't think so. I mean, you don't want a situation that we've built where Hazel freaks out anytime she's not around me. So you would really be probably doing the dog a favor.
Remember when we were in Italy and there was that little puppy, and the puppy just wandered into whatever house it wanted to in that town? Okay, so we were in Italy, and we're in this tiny little town in the south of Italy, and this dog walks up to us at lunch, and we're like, this is the cutest thing ever. It ended up going on my Bumble profile when I was single.
That profile, man. You ladies got to say a lot.
Oh, it was that coastal town, wasn't it? Where we had lunch.
So this dog was just found on the streets, and the whole town decided to raise it. And so
cute.
Yes. And the town was the dog's daughter, and they raised it. They raised the roof. And
maybe this dog could be a whole Mansfield dog.
Everybody just left their doors open at night so that the dog could wander in and sleep in their house if they wanted to.
I have to say something about that. Nobody should be leaving their doors open at night. That freaks me out.
In this tiny town of 500 people.
It freaks me out.
Where everybody knows everybody.
It still freaks me out.
They're all each other's godparents and stuff. There's
They're
nobody else
related.
there.
True.
It's also, if it's the town I'm thinking of, it was a difficult place to get to. You kind of had to go up and over a mountain range to get there, because we had a number of people in our car that got seasick or, motion sick. So just so our audience knows, Evan is my nephew.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Felt like there needed to be some dramatic something there.
Or else there could be all kinds of rumors.
Right.
They traveled to Italy together.
He's so not entertained.
Yes, I am. We go on family vacations together.
Yes. Especially since I'm way old enough to be way older. I could have a kid way older than him.
No, you couldn't. You couldn't have one way older than him.
I'm 52.
You're 52?
Yes. So I could have a kid in their 30s.
40s if you really tried hard enough.
Oh, God, no.
Oh, my word. That's insane.
Yes.
Yes. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Are you 2 years older than my mom? You're 1 year older than my mom.
18 months or something.
Okay. My mom had me when she was 28.
Yep.
My mom had me when she was 30.
So close.
So close. And I'm going to be 26, so if anyone wants to do the math on how old Sharon is, anyone who's listening, there you go.
Hi, Sharon.
She'll be so upset when she listens to this.
Ruh-roh. Another big reveal.
I know, man. I'm just spilling everything.
So I like that idea of the doggy. I might present it.
Yeah. I think it'll really create a bonding for the team.
I agree.
Yeah. Present it that way.
Yeah.
And between you and 3 other employees, it's 3 employees, right?
Right.
That's 1 week out of every month.
Yeah.
Let's
We'd
take
each
care of
get
the
the
dog.
dog for a week.
It's like nothing.
I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's like being a grandparent. You have it for
Yes.
as long as you want it, and then you send it home.
Yep.
True. And if somebody goes on vacation, there's 2 other people who can take care of it.
Right.
Yep.
You just have to coordinate schedules.
I love it.
Yeah. I love
Now,
it.
if you personally hire someone to take care of the dog while it's supposed to be staying at your residence, we are going to have a talk.
I would love to have a doggy. Really,
It's
I
the
would.
best.
In my Facebook memories the other day, there was a picture of my 2 girls, my 2 German Shepherds that passed away. It was one of those 9-year memory, whatever it was. Oh my God, they were so cute.
Have I told you how emotionally unstable I am recently?
Why is that?
I don't know. I don't know because it's March.
Good point.
The other day, I was watching a video and they had to put their dog down because of cancer, and I just started bawling my eyes out, and Aaron looked at me and said, "What is wrong with you?" And I said, "It just hit me that Hazel's gonna die one day." And he was like, "Okay, I gotta go. I gotta go to the basement. I need to get away from you for a hot second." So yeah, I just had that realization about my dog.
Oh,
It's rough.
yes. When my dog started getting older, I would break out into tears just for no reason,
Oh,
just
yeah,
because all
that's
of a
gonna
sudden
be
I
me.
realized, oh my God, they maybe have a year left,
Man, she almost hit 40 pounds. She's at 38, so we're getting there. And that really threw me too.
Why?
Because I just feel like she's growing. I got her when she was 12 pounds. The chick is becoming an adult. She's almost independent. She doesn't even sleep in her crate anymore at night. That's how independent she is.
Oh, they grow up, don't they?
They really do.
I remember that when the kids
Evan's like so annoyed by all of it.
when the kids grew up. I'm not going to tell any of Evan's secrets from when he was a little boy, but oh my God, he still is, but he was the cutest kid ever.
Oh my gosh, he's just ego is being boosted right now.
And I used to walk when I'd go to my sister's house. I would walk in the door and I'd go, "Evan T, Evan T, Evan T." And he'd run towards me and he'd just like leap.
Oh my gosh. I feel like he would still do that today.
He
Pretty
probably
much,
would, he probably
yeah.
would, but I couldn't hold him anymore.
Right.
And then they grow up.
Yeah. I will say I really enjoy being friends with Evan's mom on Instagram because she'll randomly tell me like weird things that he's done. Like when I had to climb through our doggy door, she was like, "Oh, Evan has a lot of experience about that. Ask him."
Okay. One time I got home from school, nobody was home, and I had to climb through the doggy door in order to get into our house. I'm pretty sure our garage door was broken or something. There was an actual reason why I had to go through the doggy door. But at the time, I was going through my fat stage, which was not pleasant for anybody because my teeth were also kind of messed up. So like I looked like a disaster from head to toe.
You
And-
never looked like a disaster.
Oh, we have pictures to prove otherwise. I'll
You
post one
were
sometime.
adorable. You were.
My 2 front teeth with my nose made a big Y,
I do not remember that.
like upside down.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's why I said what.
Oh, yeah. It was bad.
Did you have buck teeth?
No. Not like Freddie Mercury, but like they was kind of messed up.
I had buck teeth.
Really?
Yes, I was called Bugs Bunny when I was a little kid.
Stop.
I never took it in a bad way. Like I never took it as being like bullying
Yeah.
because I knew that, it didn't bother me. But yeah, they called me Bugs Bunny
Oh my
because
God.
I had to like me.
I was like a 5-foot 4th grader and was really, really, really liked chicken fingers, fries, and pizza. So like, you can figure all that out there. So I was a very awkward kid until I was probably in like 9th grade. It was rough.
We all go through that, I think.
Yeah,
It builds character.
It does.
totally.
Anyway, so I had to climb through the doggy door one day. My mother decided to message Emily on Instagram saying,
It was the greatest thing.
Evan climbed through the doggy door once.
Loved it. I
Her
can't wait.
primary fear was that I was going to get stuck in the doggy door.
Fair.
And like half of me is inside of the house, half of me is not. And we need the jaws of life to break down our garage
She
door.
also said, she was like, and then I was thinking, what if I find him like that dead one time? And I was like, what an aggressive jump.
My question is like, what has to happen in order for me to be dead inside of a doggy door?
Like nobody like sees you for like a week.
Right. We have logistics problems here
Right.
that are way worse than the fact that at one point I got stuck.
Right.
I have to say, I just have this image of like half of your body outside the house.
And
The legs kind of moving, you know, and the torso stuck, and then at some point you just giving up, and there's this body laying outside, half the body.
Right, and then what does the
Dogs
crime
you and
scene look
sniffing you.
like? So, like, you know how police typically put the tape on the ground? Like, do you put the tape inside of the doggy door? Do the cops walk by and be like, I don't know, this guy made a whole bunch of bad decisions, so we're just gonna leave? Like,
I don't know.
but my mom's fear, I just feel like, was a little misguided on this one.
Like, she should have been more concerned about the fact that, like, you didn't have a key to the house.
Right. Right, or like,
How old are you at this time when you got stuck?
maybe 12,
Okay.
12 or 13.
Oh, for some
like
reason I
6th or
thought you
7th
were
grade.
older.
No.
Which is why it was so, like, much more funny to me.
No, I was still getting off of the school bus. So, like, I was
Okay.
definitely in middle school.
Okay. I'm, like, crying right now. This is so funny. Whew.
She has no problem with me going 70 miles an hour on skis, but go through a doggy door, and now we have some serious issues.
No, she has problems with you going 70 miles an hour on skis.
You just probably don't listen.
I don't listen. No.
And you're old enough now that she knows when not to speak.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Oh my
So I got
gosh.
this, I was at a conference in January, and they had me, this company was promoting this product. It's kind of weird. But you walk into this like circular room where they have something like 300 DSLRs, and they say
Wait,
smile.
so tell me what a DSLR
It's
is.
a really high resolution camera.
Okay, got it. I knew that. I knew what it was supposed to be, but it's out of context. Okay, got it.
So they say smile, you smile, all of them take a picture of you at once. It like basically takes a picture of your whole body from like 360 different angles, and then they turn that into a tiny little 3-inch tall figurine of you. Mine looked exactly like me.
That is creepy.
Oh yeah, Carl showed me his.
Uh-huh.
It was kind of creepy. There was one difference though in him, and it was his nose, or something was not quite right. Anyway,
Mine looked just like me. I mean, it was like a little Evan. And
That's so strange.
I showed my friends this thing. They loved it. And they decided, we were just in Austin and in Salt Lake City and in Chicago all last week. And they decided that they were going to bring this little figurine of me with them
Everywhere?
everywhere, not tell me, and then start an Instagram account.
Shut up. What is it?
With
What's
me.
the name
They
of it?
haven't started it yet. It's gonna be at your little AI guy.
That is hilarious. Oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with your
so
friends.
like they took it skiing, and like they put it on a little ski, and then it's going down the hill. and,
Stop.
like on the airplane. Oh yeah, all this stuff. We went to a bar for St. Patrick's Day, and
Yeah,
it's
it
like
was there?
in the crowd at the bar. But I didn't
Stop.
know. I did not know.
You never
Like,
caught on? You
no,
never saw it?
I never saw it.
How?
I don't know. Well, I actually do know because they told me. They said, we did all of this right in front of you, but you have, and I think I got this directly from you. You have two qualities. You are oblivious to most of the things that happen in the world,
Yeah, you fully are.
and you don't care about what you miss. So like some people
Oh.
care
Right.
and they're oblivious. And so they're
Right.
always asking what happened. Some people notice things, but they don't care.
Right.
I don't do either. And so I found out on the last day, we were at the Bean, which I had never been to before. I've been to Chicago like 5 times.
Yeah.
I'd never been to the Bean. And one of my friends takes me around to the other side so that, like, I don't know, we could like take pictures or something. And I walk back through and they all start scrambling because turns out they're trying to take a little Evan picture next to the Bean.
Oh my gosh.
I love it.
That is amazing.
Who's got those pictures? I wonder
Yeah.
if I can get a picture of the little Evan next to the bean.
I will send you Miranda's cell phone number.
Okay.
She has all of them.
Pure gold.
Hi, I'm Annamarie Fernyak, a mindfulness teacher, entrepreneur, and urban revitalizer. In 2017, I launched Align Mindfulness, which is a free app available in your app store. I wanted subtle reminders to bring me into self-awareness. The app sends prompts 3 times a day, bringing attention to one aspect of your world. These reflections help build a well-rounded mindfulness muscle. It's intentionally simple and meant to supplement other apps as well as your meditation routine. Thank you so much for listening.
That is true about you, though. I mean, when we were in Austin, I was having a full-blown conversation with you, and I looked up, and you were not having a conversation with me. Mm-hmm. And you were but you were looking like right over my shoulder, so the entire time, I thought that we were having a conversation. And then I said, did you hear anything I just said? And you go, huh?
That aspect of my personality is one that I'm working on. Not that I want to notice more things, but like my mind will I'll like solve a problem
in your head.
And in my head in the middle of a conversation, and everything stops for me.
That's that intellection.
Yeah, it is.
Strength. I was reading those again. Of course, the audience doesn't realize that we had a whole podcast with Cindy Biggs, and unfortunately, there was a technical error, and I lost the whole podcast. So they didn't hear that aspect of our personalities, this intellection aspect, which they'll hear when we re-record the podcast. But that's that, which is that visualization, like having whole conversations, creating a whole world in your head.
That's wild.
Anyway, the reason I bring that up is to circle all the way back to your being called Bugs Bunny. You didn't really care.
At least looking back on it, I didn't care. But who knows? There may be buried trauma in my body that I have forgotten about.
That's so interesting. I don't know. I feel like I was the most like insecure little kid and even teenager. I like cared too much about what everybody thought. It took me, I mean, it probably wasn't until I was 22 that I finally stopped caring about stuff, which is also wild to think about. Live 22 of your years caring or making up stuff in your head where you're like, oh, that person is overanalyzing everything I'm doing. And they probably don't even know your name.
Yeah.
Just wild.
Do you remember like what was the catalyst for you kind of letting all that go?
Yeah, I got out of a extremely, not great relationship. And I finally realized that, I was like, I just didn't care what people thought anymore. Like, I had just been in this awful relationship for a while. And I finally got to the point where I was like, you know what? I want to do what I want to do. And I really wanted to, like, start my blog and all of that. I put that off for, like, 3 years because I was so afraid of what people might think. And I just really removed myself from all of these toxic people. It was, like, a huge group of people I just completely walked away from. And that was when I finally figured out, like, spending your time worrying about what people think about you is the largest waste of time you could ever do. But it wasn't until I finally had something that I was working towards that I was really passionate about and I really wanted to make happen. And I wasn't going to let like those small insecurities stand in my way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I never thought about what people thought. I never cared about what people thought, is what I meant to say. Until actually I was a professional and I had my own business.
Interesting. And
I had a situation where I was going up against another woman in kind of not politically, but in a very public kind of a challenge over some regulations in our community. And she said some very, very not nice things to me. And she brought in, some of the things she said was like, so-and-so hates you because blah, blah, blah. And she said things like, and your husband isn't even.
What?
And I was like, then all of a sudden, like, I did care, like what people thought. And I was thinking, what does that person think of me? What does that person think of me? Does that person not like me? And they're just pretending to like me. And I went through that for a couple years before I think I finally was like, what is this all about? And I let it all go. So I went through my whole life not caring. And then I went through a period of like 5 or 6 years where I cared too much.
Right. Isn't it? I just feel like that's such an example of how one person and something that they say to you, it can be so powerful. And so, like, I mean, I was kind of it wasn't a similar situation, but I was being told one thing for so long that I just became like anything I was insecure about was elevated and escalated in my mind. And then once I removed myself from all these like toxic people, I just finally, there was something that clicked in my head, and I was like, life is way too short to be making up stories in your mind that might not be true. And you know what? If somebody doesn't like me, if at the end of the day, like, I'm coming back and I know that I'm not hurting anyone, I'm not being mean, I'm trying to like provide value, and I feel like what I'm spending my time on is valuable, that's all that matters. And I mean, people are just always going to say stuff. That's how it is. It's our choice if we're going to like let that kind of hold us down or not.
Agreed.
But that doesn't happen overnight either.
No, it took me a long time. I think that was like an awakening that not everybody liked me.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't believe that this woman didn't like me.
Right.
And that she said that all these other people didn't like me. And I was like, wait a minute, how could somebody not like me? Honestly, I'd always just kind of like, I was in high school, I got the award for being the kindest person. And I thought, I guess I thought I had like this free pass for whatever. Have you ever read the book, The Four Agreements?
I haven't.
So that's interesting because one of the agreements is to be impeccable with your word. And when I was reading that particular agreement, there's a whole chapter. It means more than that, than just be impeccable word. And he talks a lot about how words can poison people. And that's exactly what he means by it. So you don't realize that when you speak to people, especially through anger or frustration, the words you're saying may not mean anything. They're just, you're just spewing anger. Right. But to that other person, you could be poisoning them with your words, affecting them in a negative way. And that's essentially what happened. It's like it was almost like I drank some kind of like black pill. Right. I took the negative pill where all of a sudden I was exposed to all the negative stuff that was coming at me. Yeah. Which before I was oblivious to. Right.
Yeah, it is wild.
I think a lot about when people stop caring about what other people think. I think of it more as a like commitment to themselves to become like just most authentically themselves.
100%.
And what I find is that people then like attract other people who are the same way. And so like life almost becomes unrecognizable as soon as it happens. I think about it a lot in relationships too, especially like you hear about somebody who goes through a breakup or a bad breakup or an ex or a current significant other like says something that they should change. And I almost always think that that's wrong. Like just
Agreed.
Go straight into yourself, like more like double down on yourself. And like that right person comes into your life and the wrong people leave your life. And I feel like when that happens, it's effortless.
Completely.
Like everybody knows, even the people who leave your life know that like something's just different and they're okay with it too.
Yeah.
But like your life got a lot better in the process.
I totally agree. I like looking back on who I was probably like 5 years ago or something like that. I don't really remember time at this point. It's just wild. It's so wild to me, but it is so true. I mean, I think especially like I know when I was in high school or college or anything like that, the idea of the way I am putting myself out there or like even the energy, quote unquote, like with if you're being positive, you're going to attract positive people. That wasn't anything that I ever heard. And I don't know why. I mean, growing up, my parents always said, like be the person that you want to meet. And that's all fine and dandy. But like when your parents are telling you this stuff when you're 18, if you're anything like me, you're going to look at them and roll your eyes and be like, yeah, be the person you want to meet. Okay. But it's true. But it's like so true. And so I don't know. I feel like sometimes we forget how powerful what we're saying and what we're being and just like living and how that what you're bringing like and attracting wasn't a complete thought, but it's
Mhm.
just, it's a powerful thing that I wish that like I would have known younger. And I hope that people in high school and college understand that being positive and nice is like actually a really cool thing and it'll really help you in life.
It will really help you in life. Yeah. Authentically. So
Yeah.
one of the things I think that I didn't, I was always very nice, but one thing that I think that I didn't necessarily do is I wasn't always authentic in being nice. So there were times when I probably should have just been angry.
Right.
And if you speak it, your anger with authenticity and not with, with truth and not with like vileness or negativity or whatever, then that's how it will be received eventually, maybe not initially. But I think we need to express ourselves authentically, and I don't know that I always did that. I always, there's a difference between being a kind person and being a doormat.
Oh, totally. There's also a big difference between like being upset or angry about a situation that's happening and taking that out on a person who has absolutely nothing to do with it. And I feel like a lot of the people that I've come in contact with in the last couple of years, if they're saying something that's like super kind of like attacking me, a lot of the times they're dealing with some other stuff. Like it's coming out of nowhere, it's out of the blue, and they have their own stuff going on. So when you get to the point where you're not really bothered by, I mean, a couple of years ago I would have thought about that for like years or something. But
yes. Well, one of the other agreements, so one of them is to be impeccable with your word. The other one is don't take anything personally. And I think that's really, if you read it, is a lot more depth to that.
right.
One side is that everything that's coming at you from other people is about them.
Right.
And everything that you believe about other people is about you.
Interesting.
So like so I'll use this as an example. If you meet up with somebody and you say, oh my God, I love your necklace, and you compliment them, that really doesn't have anything to do with them. It has to do with your own appreciation for whatever it is. Either the color matches your own eyes. It's like if you say, so it's always has to do, or the negative judgments that you have about other people usually are about the things that you feel most insecure with about yourself, and tend to be the things that you work the hardest not to embody. So if you're a person who has a tendency to be heavy and you work out, and you've got this great body, you could be super critical of other people who are heavy because that's your thing.
Gotcha. Right. Okay.
And so then you would judge people because they don't work out or they don't eat right or they don't, whatever it is. So it's always about you and it's never about them.
Yeah.
And that has changed the way I've approached pretty much everything.
Definitely. I mean, you have to reflect on parts of yourself that you might not want to.
Yes. And even as a leader, if I'm feeling judgmental towards my team or something that they're doing, I first check it, with myself. And I invite myself to just sit with it for a minute and say, okay, what is this about? Is this about, did my team did they meet the kind of the parameters of our mission and our vision? And did they check all the boxes of our core values? And if they did that, then, okay, why am I feeling judgmental? And so I'm always checking it first. And then what we do in our community is we have a vision, mission, core values, and then we do agreements, which I was just thinking about this morning. We need to redo our agreements just because they get old or they get forgotten after a period of time.
Right.
And that's really where you sit down with a team of people and you say, okay, these are kind of our rules of engagement based on what my own needs are, what we did at the very beginning when we did that, those 4 quadrants.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed I use a lot of I statements now, against the advice of some people where it's like, oh, you talk about yourself too much. But in reality, I've noticed that a lot of statements overall are reflections of the person who's making them.
Right.
And feedback that I get is a reflection of the person who's making them. And so I try to use I statements to clearly define who is the recipient of, or like who has the thought, or who is the recipient, or like who is being projected upon. That way the person I'm talking to doesn't think, well, they're projecting this thought on me, or I'm receiving this feedback from them, or Evan thinks this and this is what's right, or he thinks he's always right. And it's like, no, I think when I've started to use more I statements, because as I speak and share experiences, like it's just my truth. And when people speak and share their experiences, oftentimes I think it's phrased in a way, whether it's to me or to other people, that is much more aggressive and much more projecting like, but in reality it's a reflection of them and who they are and what their fears are. And so that's where I think like the value of I statements really comes in, and I think it's where a lot of miscommunications come in.
One of our agreements, our team agreements, and the agreements that we use during our retreats and our workshops is always use I statements. And if you start to listen to how people talk,
Right.
oftentimes they'll use a collective you, and they speak from this collective. And it's both disempowering. So it's basically taking that conviction or whatever it is you're stating outside of yourself and not taking full responsibility for it. But it's also making assumptions that other people agree with you.
Right. Right.
And then it's almost aggressive if you, as the other person, says, wait a minute, then you have to like kind of be aggressive.
You've created an environment for conflict.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, makes sense completely.
Yeah. I didn't realize you did that. I'm going to listen to your language more, Evan.
I've gotten like kind of nervous about it because I've realized just how much I say the word I, and I want to make sure that I'm not being like self-centered in the way that I speak. That being said, I don't want to project thoughts onto other people. And so like I do try to share my experiences or our experiences. But in the case where I share our experiences, it's after I've already heard and understood what that person like thought or said or was experiencing. And so I've actually been thinking a lot about my vocabulary lately because of that aspect that is my thoughts and my words are a reflection of who I am and not a reflection of the person that I'm talking to.
So what would be self-centered in your speaking? Like, how would you know if your speaking is self-centered?
I wouldn't, and that's where I'm focusing my energy right now. I really don't think that I am. I don't try to be. But just how in the last 5 sentences, how many times have I said the word I?
So one of the things that I do sometimes if I don't have an answer to one of my own inquiries is I'll, in essence, put it in the mirror. So when I was an interior designer, what I would do if I would put things on a board, fabrics, colors, textures, pictures of the furniture. And if I couldn't see really whether it was going to work or not, I would put it in the mirror. And putting it in the mirror, you see the reflection. So you see the opposite of it. So if I were to invite you to put that question in the mirror, like what does it mean to be self-centered in your speaking? Let's switch it a little bit. What would it be for you to believe that Emily was speaking in a self-centered way? What would she be saying? And you don't necessarily have to answer.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know because I think in Emily and I's relationship and in the what I would consider to be the strongest relationships that I have, we both come to the table with common experience, like with our own experiences. We share them and we have common experiences on top of it. And so like I would expect Emily to come to the table with her experiences, speak in an I language, and be speaking about like her life, her family, her job, whatever, just like I do with her. And so I don't actually think that like Emily could necessarily speak in a self-centered way. The only thing that I would say could be self-centered is if she doesn't listen.
So that's what, like, this entire time I was thinking, maybe it's not necessarily the words, but it's where the person's coming from. You can tell pretty quickly somebody's like intentions and their heart and all of that. Mm-hmm. So to be totally honest, I know you probably just said I a bunch of times, I didn't recognize that. Like that wasn't something that I was paying attention to. I was just listening to where you were coming from. Mm-hmm. So I feel like anybody I've been around who's super self-centered, the moment they walk into the room, it's like I need an ego boost kind of a thing. It's not I'm coming to the table and I'm trying to take responsibility for this. Mm-hmm. And I don't necessarily think that they say I a lot. It's just a lot of things that they're saying are like, ooh, I had this experience. Well, I just used the word I, but like, you know what I mean? It's just like everything is to make them look better. And you don't come to the table with that. You come to the table taking responsibility for anything that could have happened.
Yeah, so I've heard two, I think, very important words. One is responsibility, taking responsibility for the words you use and what message you're bringing to the conversation. Mm-hmm. And the other thing was intention.
Yeah.
And I think that we pick up intention. Mm-hmm. Like if somebody is having a conversation and they're tending to listen, active listening, and they're really curious about you and they're speaking authentically, you know that.
Right.
If they're coming to the table and they're speaking authentically, but it's all about them and they're not at all interested in you, it could be the same exact words, but there's a sense or an energy that is translated.
Completely.
And like you said, listening. Mm-hmm. That's in many ways how we know, is if the other person is actively listening.
I think something too, I mean, it's different for everyone, but I always have like a gut feeling about people, good or bad, and whether you listen to it or not. But there's just, everyone has a sense, like they bring a sense about them, kind of a thing. So, so just keep saying I. You're doing great.
Yeah, and I would say listen to yourself as you're speaking. And when I mean listen to yourself, don't just listen to your words, listen to your intention. Mm-hmm. And check it there and say, okay, am I interested in this other person? Am I actually speaking actively with this other person as a partner in the conversation? Or am I speaking at them? And I'm not really at all curious about them.
Yeah. Something that keeps coming up in conversations, and I don't know if it's just the period of life, but is ego and like making sure that is constantly being checked, whether I have people around me or I find myself now, like everything I am doing, small or big, I'm like, is this to boot? Like what's going on here? And so I feel like that's something that gets away from so many people. And I've had the opportunity to kind of watch people be successful and then their ego is like right there. And then that success goes down. And I just never want that to be, if I'm doing something to boost myself, then there's there's an issue.
I also think that translates to your audience. So I see that in your social media. I've never read your blogs.
Oh, the truth comes out.
Except for the one you did with MBA, obviously.
Right.
I read that. But I see that in your social media posts. And then there was a woman that I met when I was traveling. Her name is Carrie Dauber, and she's one of the, Wives of Texas or whatever that thing is. That
Real Housewives?
Yeah, Real Housewives of...
He's like, which episode? Which season?
Real Housewives of Dallas, I think it is.
Oh,
and
okay.
So, obviously, I was curious about her. So after I met her and, we developed a mini relationship at this resort, I Googled her and I checked her out on social media, and she has a huge following. I don't even know how many, but lots and lots of people. But I think what makes her so interesting and so intriguing for the long term is she's like you. I mean, she's very much like you. She's very authentic. An example is she went to some swanky charitable thing, and she was dressed up like this futurist. I mean, she's beautiful anyway.
Right.
She was dressed up like this futuristic woman. I mean, I'm going to attribute it to like Catwoman, but she wasn't dressed as Catwoman, but it was a real futuristic kind of, and she just looked stunning. And she posted about the evening and stuff. And then the next day she posted her before and after picture.
Oh, wow.
So like her without her makeup on, with her hair
Yeah.
all yucky, you know, and
Right.
then she did. And I thought, yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because she's showing people the truth of who she is. She's showing both sides of what her life looks like.
yeah.
And she does that with her Instagram posts and things like that's all I know her from, really, is her
Right.
Instagram.
I think it's so important, especially, I mean, I guess I'm kind of oblivious when it comes to certain things, but it never really hit me that 10-year-olds and 12-year-olds are on social media. I don't really know why until we were around Aaron's nieces and nephews, and they all have Instagrams. And then that I was just sitting there being like, who are you following on Instagram? You better only be following dogs. But like, if you're following people, I hope that they're not people who, I mean, I don't know, you're just so impressionable at that age. So I just think it's important that some people are actually showing that.
They're being authentic.
Yeah. I mean, life's messy. It's just how it is.
It really is.
I mean, would I love to wake up and somebody's doing my hair and makeup for me every day? Heck yeah. But that's not the case.
I'd like to wake up and just look like that.
Right? I just fall out of bed and I'm like, here we are. Yeah, I know. Those people with like the flawless skin that looks like they're wearing makeup. I don't know what you're drinking, but let me know.
Let me know. Yeah. I want to know what drugs you're on.
Right, seriously.
Yeah. So I think the audience appreciates the authentic person.
So that word is thrown around so much, and something just hit me when you said that is going back to our other conversations. I don't think you can be authentic until you're comfortable with yourself. So like so many people are saying all this stuff to bloggers or all these people. They're like, you're not authentic. You're not. Well, they might just honestly be insecure, you know? And once again, going back to other conversations, like, why are you so fixated on like this one person? Just unfollow them and carry on with your life.
Hi, I'm Annamarie Fernyak, a mindfulness teacher, entrepreneur, and urban revitalizer. In 2019, I published my first meditation with Insight Timer. To listen to these meditations, please download the Insight Timer app from your app store and search Annamarie Fernyak. Thank you so much for listening.
I think about that that idea of being authentic with yourself first a lot with people's words, actually, and being impeccable with your words, because I see a lot of people who are trying to either figure themselves out, or they're trying to do something that's off the beaten path, or they're doing something that's like clearly breaking away from how their friends think or how their families think. But in their words, they'll limit themselves.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so they'll try to become an influencer,
Right.
but they'll say, I'm trying to become an influencer.
Well,
Right.
just
Instead of,
using
I'm
the
an
word
influencer.
try.
Right.
Yeah.
We have a thing at the Butterfly House about try.
There's no trying.
There is
You
no
either
try.
You just
or you
are
don't.
an influencer.
Right. No, that's so true.
Right. And so they'll kind of hedge their bet a little bit, like, this may not work. And if it doesn't, I was right. And if it
Right.
works, I was right. The problem is
Right. Yeah.
it probably won't work at that point because
Yeah.
you gave yourself an out. And so I think about that inauthenticity where you haven't convinced yourself yet that either like the person that you think you are becoming or the person that you think you are is the person who you are. Like, you haven't
Right.
accepted that yet.
Right.
And so you're limiting yourself in that capacity. Or in something that you're doing, you haven't accepted that you can actually do it yet. And so, yeah, I think the authenticity comes through the words in that case, sometimes even more often than the feeling, because they could be really good at selling you on who they are or what they're doing, but then what they'll say is just not backing it up, and you realize it immediately.
Yeah. I was just thinking about, I had lunch with one of my friends yesterday, and she has been blogging for a while, but she was like, it's been off and on. And she asked me, she said, when did you decide that you wanted to take it seriously? And I said, from day one. And I just was like, if I'm going to do this and I'm going to put myself out there, it's because I want to do it. And it's going to work. It just will. You got to be your own cheerleader, let me tell you.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I agree with that. It's completely what you're telling yourself in your mind is the most powerful.
Right.
And I think your acceptance of who you are. Like, if
Yeah.
you don't accept who you are and then you are trying to act authentic, everyone knows immediately.
Completely.
And in fact, everybody probably knows who you are,
Yeah.
and they know that you're trying not to accept it.
Yeah. No, totally. Boom.
Boom.
That's all I got.
I agree with it all. I also too, I'll like say certain affirmations in my mind, but I'll also write them down. So I write down like 4 or 5 a day. And if I don't write those down, my entire day is off.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, you're not in the right headspace. So you have to constantly be telling yourself this stuff too. It's not like you say it once or like, I am an influencer, and then you suddenly believe it. You just got to continue to say what you are.
I loved how in that journal
Yeah.
that your friend created,
Yeah.
that it's when you set your goals, you write them as if they've already been accomplished.
Yep.
And it
That's
does.
really
It tells the brain something.
Oh, absolutely. So there's a little space at the bottom where you can write affirmations.
Mm-hmm.
I need a whole piece of paper. So I actually go to the other side and I like write, I don't know, like 4 or 5 things. But no, there is something super powerful about it, especially if you're starting your day that way.
Mm-hmm.
Get ready to rock this world.
So give me 2 of your affirmations for today, or 2 of your goals that have already occurred for today.
Okay, so I tell myself this every single day. I say, I am a student because I always want to be learning something. And then I am strong because I'm a strong individual, whether that is making decisions or, working out. Take it however way you want. And I am kind. Those are my 3. And then those are like the 3 that I always say. And then something that has been a new thing is I will live a life that helps other people. And that's just kind of keeping my mind in the right place too.
Mm-hmm.
That it's not about me.
Mm-hmm.
Ever.
That's cool. How about you, Evan?
What are my affirmations for the day?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't write any down.
If you were to
Down
create
now.
them right now, you could write them down
I could write them.
in your beautiful notebook that's right in front of you.
I will actually pull out. I do every day at the end of the day. I found it's extremely helpful for keeping me patient as well as like keeping me sane. I have a little notebook called the 21 Day Positive Focus, and I write down 5 things that I'm grateful for.
Cool.
Love it.
Ooh, those are all super specific from yesterday.
He's not repeating
So
those.
we're not
right?
repeating those.
A little bit of a red face there.
Yeah.
They were good ones. Yesterday was a good day.
Good.
But what are my affirmations for the day? I'm actually not going to answer that. I'm just going to answer it in a question that I've been thinking about a whole lot lately.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll actually answer the question. So the question that I've been thinking about a whole lot lately is if we were meeting in 3 years and you were to look back from 3 years to today, what has to happen both personally and professionally for me to feel happy about the progress?
Wow.
It's a really interesting question because as I talk to more people, I ask it more and more often because I want to be working with people who are thinking in the long term or interacting with people who are thinking in the long term and not just thinking about the next week, 2 weeks, 5 weeks.
Right.
And so it's really taking place in both my personal life and in my professional life. But my answer to that question is providing as much value for people who are less fortunate than I am.
Mm-hmm.
And so whether that's just they haven't had the experiences that I have, or they don't have the means, or they don't have the like environment, it's really just about how can we identify who those people are first, and because often they go unidentified, and then provide as much value for them as we possibly can. And so that's kind of where my focus is for the day. It's not an affirmation at all, but it's the thing that I've been thinking about.
What are your 3?
So I usually go back to the book, The 4 Agreements, because I think it encompasses so much of the important things of how we live our life. And so my affirmations usually, or my goals are usually, mindful's not one of the 4 agreements, but I always say, I am mindful. I am doing my best. I am impeccable with my word. And I don't take things personally.
I love it.
Love it.
Yeah.
And then I have others that I add to that, depending on what's happening in my life. And then I did a Reiki. If you're familiar with Reiki, it's basically energy movement. I did a Reiki session with a gentleman once. And at the end of every paragraph that he would say, and so it is. And so the interesting thing is I did it with him a couple times in different years with the same gentleman. And I always heard that in my head. So I would say something to myself, and then I would say, and so it is, in my own head. And it would be in his voice, right? But I did not remember who he was or that he had even said that until I went back to him this last January and had him again do another Reiki session with me. And at the end, he said, and so it is. And I was like, light bulb. Oh my gosh, this is the voice that I've been hearing in my head. And so I asked him, I said, why do you say that at the end? And he said, because it tells the brain that it's already happened. And I've been, ever since that first time, I do that. And I don't know if you've noticed on some of my Instagram posts, I'll do hashtag and so it is.
Right.
So you could set that agreement with yourself or set that goal for yourself. And at the end say, and so it is.
I
it
love
has
that.
already happened.
I'm going to start doing that. I love that.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right, parting words.
Sweet.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thanks again for joining us today. If you'd like to connect with us on social media, you can find Annamarie at Mindfully Annamarie. You can find myself at Emily VDW, and you can find Evan at _Evan Ryan. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you for listening to Everyday Mindfulness. Have a great day.